For Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson enters its third day on Capitol Hill.
And Madeleine Albright, the first female Secretary of State, has passed away at the age of 84. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Curtis Fader.
And I'm Sarah Donaldson. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. Look at what's going on outside as a tornado warning is in effect near Athens County. Forecaster Henry Goff is here to tell us about the active warnings in southeastern Ohio with the most up-to-date information.
Thank you, Sarah. So that tornado warning that was just for Athens County has been allowed to expire as that storm has just moved off to the north. But now we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that is now in effect for Athens County and also Morgan County. This one is till 7:15. The main threat that we've been watching this storm for the past 30 minutes, along with the other storm that just moved through. This storm is in effect till 7:15. We are watching for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, and the main hazard that we are seeing with this storm is hail up to 1 inch. As we've been looking through all the data for the past few hours, this hail is the most main threat, and we're going to continue to track the storm as it moves across Athens, and we still have plenty of storms to get through this evening as we're still under tornado watch till 10 p.m. And as we look towards the south, we do have more cells developing. We're still tracking those. So far, they have not reached severe limit, but they are still strong. So as we continue through the show and through the evening, any warnings that pop up, we will definitely let you know as soon as possible. But let's take a quick look at the storm track on this active warning right now. Where right now we do have radar indicating about 1.5 inch size hail for this area. And this storm will be moving off to the northeast at 68 miles per hour. So it's a fast mover. So once it's through, but we still have more storms to get through as of right now. But I'll have more information later on, and we will break in anytime a new warning is issued. But for right now, I'm going to be handing it back to Curtis.
Thanks, Henry. Governor Mike DeWine gave this year's State of the State address earlier today. At the State House, DeWine spoke about Ohio's strength and spent some time focusing on Appalachia. DeWine wants to work with state and local leaders to improve communities in the area.
Our citizens in Appalachia are strong. They have a great and proud history. Generations have built a life there, planting roots deep in the soil along the Ohio River. And this is now Appalachia's time.
DeWine also talked about developing Appalachian Ohio state parks while reinvesting in other parks around the state. He says by continuing to invest in parks, visitors will, quote, feel like family. The Ohio Secretary of State's office says gubernatorial candidate Joe Blystone has to dole out $100,000 of refunds in campaign contributions. The Republican political newcomer and Central Ohio farmer is running to challenge incumbent Governor Mike DeWine. According to the Secretary of State's office, Blystone broke rules about limits on cash contributions and corporate donations. The office also says his 2021 campaign finance reports were missing information. Blystone was given until Friday to respond. A Nelsonville man convicted of involuntary manslaughter and endangering children was sentenced yesterday to 4 to 6 years in prison. 37-year-old Donald Platt was previously found guilty of the first and third degree felonies for leaving a loaded gun in his home that his 14-year-old son was able to access. The son then accidentally shot and killed 11-year-old Eli Spangler. Before Judge George McCarthy imposed the 4-year sentence, the Athens County Prosecutor's Office argued for an 8 to 12-year sentence for Platt, while the defense argued for community control and no prison time.
West Virginia Democrats are asking Republican Governor Jim Justice and the West Virginia legislature to address suspending the state's gasoline tax. A group of state lawmakers previously requested Justice halt the 37.5 cent tax himself, which he wouldn't do. Justice said it was under the legislature's authority Now, Democrats want a special session to address it. According to the AAA, in West Virginia, regular unleaded gas costs an average of $4.09 per gallon as of Tuesday. The hearings for Supreme Court Justice nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson enters their third day. And the first female Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, has passed away. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Slime molds.
You have this organism that has no brain, no organs, no neurons of any kind, and they still have to find food. They may need to hide from predators.
What can they tell us about intelligence?
Solving a maze is amazing.
And where it came from?
We can think of them as how intelligence started, way back.
The secret mind of slime.
How could you not love them?
On Nova.
Inside the court of Henry VIII,
he was brutal, he was ruthless.
the virtue of ambition,
You had to demonstrate that you were useful to the king.
the art of seduction,
She wanted to be queen.
and the conviction of faith
He believed it was God's will.
only goes so far when a tyrant reigns. Inside the court of Henry VIII.
On American Experience, a brutal murder in 1942.
The word went on the neighborhood, they're picking up everybody. Somebody got killed.
A sensational trial.
It was plastered all over the papers.
A city erupts in violence.
You see these servicemen beating the heck out of all these Mexicans.
Los Angeles was like a war zone.
Zoot Suit Riots on American Experience.
She got a lot of rejection from the art world, and that became the fuel that fueled her career. And you could look at it like the irritant in an oyster shell that creates the pearl.
Try for shows and you get rejected. You got to make work that somebody wants to look at. So spend more time doing the work and finding out what you really want to do. That worked.
Supreme Court nominee Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson answers questions about her criminal defense record. Today is the third day of the Senate Judiciary Committee's confirmation hearings. Gloria Pazmino has the latest from Washington.
Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson arrived at Capitol Hill for one last day of questioning.
Senate Judiciary Committee will come to order.
Lawmakers focused on her criminal defense attorney record, and she responded to criticism that she has been soft on crime.
I understand the need for law enforcement, the importance of holding people accountable for their criminal behavior. I also, as a lawyer and a citizen, believe very strongly in our Constitution and the rights that make us free.
Brown talked about her brother, a former Baltimore Police Department officer and an Army veteran.
Law enforcement is a dangerous profession, and as family members, you worry when you don't get the phone call.
South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham questioned Brown on whether undocumented immigrants should be allowed to vote.
Under our laws, you have to be a citizen of the United States in order to vote.
So the answer would be no.
It's not consistent with our laws, so the answer is no.
After the hearings wrap, the committee will vote on whether to advance the nomination, which appears on track to happen. A final vote on the Senate floor will follow. I'm Gloria Pazmino reporting.
The Senate Judiciary Committee will conclude their hearings over Judge Jackson's nomination tomorrow following testimony from the American Bar Association.
President Joe Biden is traveling to Brussels, Belgium today to discuss the war in Ukraine. The White House says these are their main objectives. According to the White House, they're flying into an emergency NATO summit on Ukraine, and Ukraine says some 100,000 people are trapped in the besieged city of Mariupol. Other Ukrainians are battling to protect the capital, Kyiv, and other cities. The UN says that more than 3.5 million refugees have fled to neighboring countries to escape the fighting. Now, Meanwhile, Madeleine Albright, the first woman U.S. Secretary of State, has passed away. Albright's family announced her death in a statement Wednesday. CNN's Richard Roth takes a look at the life of a woman who will forever be remembered as a trailblazer in United States history.
As a diplomat, where tact and treading gingerly on contentious issues are the norm, Madeleine Albright was never one to mince words.
This is not cojones. This is cowardice.
Whether it was her colorful use of language condemning Cuba for shooting down U.S. pilots, or her strident assessment of the leader of Iraq.
I don't think the world has seen, except maybe since Hitler, somebody who is quite as evil as Saddam Hussein.
The Iraqi dictator was said to be so incensed by Albright's verbal attacks, he published a poem in Iraqi newspapers calling her an unrelenting serpent. Albright's response was one of quiet defiance. From that moment forward, she wore a brooch in the shape of a serpent at every meeting with the Iraqi leadership. And she began using her pins, as she called them, as a way of sending subtle messages without uttering a single word. Born Marie Jana Korbelova to a Czechoslovakian diplomat, Albright and her family fled the former Czechoslovakia after the Nazi invasion in 1939 and later found safe haven in the United States in 1948. She became a U.S. citizen, married media tycoon Joseph Patterson Albright, and had 3 children, all while working on her Ph.D. and learning multiple languages. In 1982, Albright took a prestigious position as professor of international affairs at Georgetown University. But it was the shock of her husband asking for a divorce around that same time that changed the course of her life.
There was an identity crisis. As it turns out, I think those next 10 years were the ones that were the most influential.
She poured herself into her work, becoming foreign policy advisor to then presidential candidate Bill Clinton in 1992. Clinton, in turn, tapped her for the post of U.S. ambassador to the United Nations after he won the White House. As UN ambassador, Albright became known for her tenacity and determination to elevate U.S. interests at the UN through what she called aggressive multilateralism.
We must summon the spine to deter, the support to isolate, and the strength to defeat those who run roughshod over the rights of others.
She pushed hard for U.S. boots on the ground in the Balkans. The U.S. administration chose diplomacy instead, a decision that came at a costly human price. An even bigger regret, the failure of the U.S. to intervene to stop the Rwandan genocide in 1994.
I, Madeleine Corbell Albright.
Lessons learned from her past and the present, as Albright cemented her place in history, becoming the first ever female U.S. Secretary of State on January 23, 1997. When the Kosovo conflict erupted in 1998, Albright lobbied forcefully for NATO intervention. The NATO-led effort helped Kosovo gain independence from Serbian control, and the ICC indicted Serbian President Slobodan Milosevic for war crimes.
Never again will there be massacres and mass graves.
Through it all, Albright's experience as a refugee who found the American dream was omnipresent in her life.
My life reflects both the turbulence of Europe in the middle of this century and the tolerance and generosity of America throughout its existence.
In her later years, Albright's comments in support of Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton backfired.
There's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other.
She apologized for the timing of her so-called undiplomatic moment in a New York Times op-ed and seized the opportunity to make a passionate case for gender equality by saying, "My hope is that young women will build on the progress we have made, but that will happen only if women help one another, and for those who do that, there will always be a special place of honor."
Albright died of cancer. She was 84 years old.
A local author is speaking out about her experience in nursing homes and is suggesting ways to improve them. That story's still ahead.
We've had a report of hail already in Athens just now. We'll have more information about these storms moving through the region after the break. But for now, a look at stocks of local interest.
मेरे लिए तो बहुत ही रिस्की है।
इन दबंग लोगों ने क्या किया, उसको पत्थर मारकर हत्या कर दी।
औरतों के हाथ में अगर पावर हो तो वो क्या कर सकती हैं। मेरा दिल हौसला देता है।
Writing with Fire, Monday, March 28th at 10, 9 Central on Independent Lens.
Slime molds.
You have this organism that has no brain, no organs, no neurons of any kind, and they still have to find food. They may need to hide from predators.
What can they tell us about intelligence?
Solving a maze is amazing.
And where it came from.
We can think of them as how intelligence started way back.
The secret mind of slime.
How could you not love them?
On Nova.
On expedition.
I'm in Greenland with an expert team of Arctic explorers, attempting to kayak up the largest fjord in the world.
Simply stunning. I don't think there's anywhere else on Earth where you feel quite so small, quite so vulnerable.
Real danger of getting trapped here.
That's closed up already.
Oh my God, that is absolutely awe-inspiring. This is what adventures are made of.
On American Experience, a brutal murder in 1942.
The word went on the neighborhood, they're picking up everybody. Somebody got killed.
A sensational trial.
It was plastered all over the papers.
A city erupts in violence.
You see these servicemen beating the heck out of all these Mexicans.
Los Angeles was like a war zone.
Zoot Suit Riots on American Experience.
Welcome back. We've still got a lot to get through this evening, and we have 2 active severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for our viewing area. And the first one includes Athens County and Morgan County. The other one includes Jackson County and Meigs County for Ohio. But let's get through the first one with the one for Athens County. This one is till 7:15. It has been extended for Athens County, and it now includes wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, so the threat has been upgraded to considerable. So treat this as like it's a tornado warning, because 70 miles per hour can easily knock down trees and cause damage to houses. So if you have an interior room to get to, definitely get to it now. Do not be near any windows, and if you are traveling, if you do plan traveling by car, please hold off for the next hour until the rest of these storms have moved through. But with this cell, we have already had a report around Athens of hail up to 1 inch. That has been confirmed by the National Weather Service. And so that threat is still going to be continuing up to 7:15. But let's move on to the other warning that includes Jackson and Meigs County. This one, if my mouse can come back, that one is till 7:15. This one also is for 70 mile per hour winds, so this threat is also considerable. The other warning also for Athens also has the possibility of a tornado, so we will be watching in case a tornado warning does get issued, so make sure you have a way to get alerts on your phone. But this warning also includes Meigs County and Jackson County, as I mentioned before. This one also is till 7:15 p.m. And this one also has the capability of producing winds up to 70 miles per hour. So again, for this severe thunderstorm warning, treat it as a tornado warning. And also, we still expect hail up to 1 inch. So these 2 storms are definitely to keep an eye on for the next hour. And we also still see more thunderstorms developing off to our west. We will continue to move through the evening. Those storms have not yet reached severe limits, but they are close to still. So for the next hour, make sure you have a way to get to shelter and make sure you have a way to get your warnings. So again, these storms have been significant. We've already had damaging winds earlier today. And let's take a look at some storm tracks, if my mouse will pop up. Going to look at the Morgan County one. This one will be We'll be heading towards Elizabeth at around 7:04. So if you live in Elizabeth in West Virginia, please watch out for the storms moving through. But if any warnings do get issued throughout the show, again, we will break in and let you know. But for now, back to the desk.
Thanks, Henry. The Athens Public Library held an event this past Saturday educating people in the community about nursing homes and advice on what to look for when the time comes for a loved one to enter a nursing home. Newswatch reporter Fallon Howard has more.
Dr. Carolyn Bailey Lewis has been in and out of nursing homes over the past 26 years. In her first book, Love and Loss, The Storied Nature of Nursing Home Care, Lewis details her experience living in nursing homes and the stories of her fellow residents.
Seeing so many people, as I said, who were not themselves, with dementia, Alzheimer's, babbling and unable to speak or move, not knowing where they were. So my first plan again was to tell those stories.
According to the Ohio Health Care Association, there are 978 skilled nursing facilities and 774 assisted living facilities in the state of Ohio. Skilled nursing facilities are the second largest healthcare employer in the nation. Lewis has lived in 6 nursing homes over the past 2 decades and says there are 3 key factors that involve choosing a nursing home that is right for you.
They should consider, first of all, the cleanliness of it. And the second thing, are the people friendly? And the third thing, is it really a place that feels good to me?
From her experience, she also says you don't always have to choose quickly, but rather choose wisely.
From my own experience, don't make a hasty decision about going to the first place you see. However, you might want to have a place that's close to family.
The Athens Public Library hosts a range of events for people in the Athens community.
We do historical programs, we do literary programs, we do culinary programs, we have programs that raise social consciousness. We try to have a little bit of everything, things that entertain, things that educate, things that uplift.
Todd Bastine, exhibits coordinator, says being present is a key part of being an advocate for a loved one.
How well it works when people come together to help each other. Just a little bit of compassion for one another makes a massive difference.
Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Fallon Howard.
In honor of Women's History Month, Bastine encourages everyone in Athens to attend their next event on March 31st, titled From Sojourner Truth to Stacey Abrams, Black Women in the Vanguard of Political Change.
Coming up in sports, Ohio softball took on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Battle for Ohio. Stay tuned to find out more. And be sure to stay tuned to WOUB after the show, as here's a look at what's coming up tonight on your public television station.
मेरे लिए तो बहुत ही रिस्की है।
तो इन दबंग लोगों ने क्या किया, उसको पत्थर मारकर हत्या कर दी।
औरतों के हाथ में अगर पावर हो तो वो क्या कर सकते हैं।
मेरा दिल हौसला देता है।
Writing with Fire, Monday, March 28th at 10, 9 Central on Independent Lens.
She got a lot of rejection from the art world, and that became the fuel that fueled her career. And you could look at it like the irritant in an oyster shell that creates the pearl.
Try for shows and you get rejected. You got to make work that somebody wants to look at. So spend more time doing the work and finding out what you really want to do. That worked.
Inside the court of Henry VIII.
He was brutal, he was ruthless.
The virtue of ambition.
You had to demonstrate that you were useful to the king.
The art of seduction.
She wanted to be queen.
And the conviction of faith.
He believed it was God's will.
Only goes so far when a tyrant reigns. Inside the court of Henry VIII.
An American Experience, a brutal murder in 1942.
The word went on in the neighborhood, they're picking up everybody. Somebody got killed.
A sensational trial.
It was plastered all over the papers.
a city erupts in violence.
You see these servicemen beating the heck out of all these Mexicans.
Los Angeles was like a war zone.
Zoot Suit Riots on American Experience.
Welcome back. I'm Joe Collins for sports. It was green and white versus scarlet and gray yesterday in Athens as the Ohio softball team took on the Ohio State Buckeyes. The 24th ranked Buckeyes jumped out to an early 3-0 lead after a 2-run bomb in the third inning. The Bobcats responded in the fourth when redshirt senior Torrey Walker smoked this one over the third baseman, which brings home Torrey O'Brien to cut the OSU lead to 2. But that's all the Ohio Bats would be able to muster. The Buckeyes scored 3 runs over the final 2 innings, including a home run by Mekhi Ott for a 6-1 Ohio State victory. Ohio drops to 7-15 on the year, while OSU improves to 18-5. The story outside the box score was the attendance record set by Ohio. More than 1,000 people were on hand to watch the game. Head coach Kenzie Rourke says the atmosphere was a nice change from last year.
You know, they feed off of our fans, and you know, it was fun in between innings, and it's a great feeling coming out here and seeing that many fans in the stands. It makes you want to play hard and play tough. Last year we were only allowed to have pass list fans, and this year we have over 1,000 people at our second home game, and so, you know, some of these, half of my teams never played in front of that many people.
Due to a schedule adjustment, Ohio will now play a doubleheader on Friday against Bowling Green. Not too far away, Ohio football's draft-eligible players showed out for NFL scouts at the team's pro day at Walter Fieldhouse on Tuesday. NFL hopefuls including DeMontre Tuggle, Cam Odom, Will Evans, and Jaron Hampton went through drills so scouts get an up-close look at their abilities. Tuggle was the standout performer of the day with an impressive 4.5 seconds on the 40-yard dash and a vertical jump of 39.5 inches. Other events included cone drills and the bench press. The NFL draft will last from 3 days from April 28th to the 30th in Las Vegas, Nevada. In the NHL, the Columbus Blue Jackets look to keep their playoff hopes alive in a pivotal matchup with their rival, the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Jackets used the power play to get on the board first as Gus Nyquist pokes home the loose puck to give the Jackets a 1-0 lead. In the second, with the game tied at 1, Sidney Crosby with a beautiful cross-ice pass to a wide-open Jake Getzel, who slides it in the open net to give the Pens the lead. The Pens scored 3 more unanswered goals the rest of the game to make it a dominating 5-1 victory over the Jackets. With the loss, the Blue Jackets' playoff hopes are getting smaller and smaller. The Jackets have 13 games left, but are 13 points behind the Capitals for the final playoff spot. A win gets you 2 points, so the best chance for the Jackets is to win just about every game left to make it in. And that's all we have for sports. I'm Joe Collins. Let's throw it over to Henry for a look at final weather.
Thank you, Joe. So taking a final look at the radar, we still have a lot of active weather to watch out for. We still have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect until 7:15. Again, the main risk is going to be that 70-mile-per-hour winds. The storm towards the north of Athens, that one does have some rotation indicated on that, and so we will continue to watch that through the evening in case a tornado warning does get issued. But over the next few hours, the storms will be moving out from the region, and we will be seeing that tornado watch get expired most likely before 10 p.m. And overall, overnight tonight, we don't expect any active weather, and it's going to be looking really nice heading into tomorrow.
Excellent analysis. I'm very glad that we're indoors. We've been hearing a lot of tornado sirens. Yesterday, maybe a fire alarm. So we're hearing a lot of noises these days.
Yeah, and so we'll continue to see this severe weather. We do still have a thunderstorm over us here in Athens. It's strong, hasn't turned severe yet, but that will be moving off towards the evening.
Glad to hear it. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Curtis Fader.
And I'm Sarah Donaldson. Stay tuned for the PBS News Hour, and you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Hocking Valley Bank, offering mortgage loans or refinancing on an existing home, making it easy for dreams to become a reality.